Want to break down on some of the latest topics from college to the pros? We interview many individuals to share their knowledge about the news stories surrounding the teams and its players. This is Nothing But That Sports Talk. Welcome to another episode of Nothing But That Sports Talk here on Christmas time. Hope you have happy holidays, everybody, and hope you having happy holidays as well.
Yeah, hi, thanks for having me. I'm doing well at home right now for the holidays, so that's always pretty nice to spend time with family.
Yeah, I know. And for those of you that don't know, that don't listen to WV, this is Ice Young, who played college ball for Syracuse, and now she's playing at Fordham University, which is where I went to, by the way. Mm-hmm. So, talk about your basketball career as a whole and why you got into basketball as a whole.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm from South Jersey. Both my parents are from this area. They both played in high school. They really got me into the sport. I'm the oldest of three kids. So I think we all played basketball and soccer. That was kind of like our family thing. And then, just around my junior year of high school, I started to really get letters and scholarships and good looks at high-level schools. And so I had kind of decided to stop playing soccer, really focus on basketball. And then I committed to the University of Florida, where I spent 2 years there. I tore my ACL at the end of my senior year in high school. So by the time that I got to Florida my first year, I redshirted, and I was just rehabbing and getting back to myself. And then the second year I played, but not very much, just more so like freshman minutes. When I was too far from home, I kind of just didn't like the experience once I was there. And so I transferred to Syracuse, which was 4 hours away. My parents came to every home game, almost every other away game, so closer to family. And I had a great time at Syracuse. I was there for 3 years. So when I transferred, I sat that first year, and then I played the next 2 years, and I played good minutes. I did good things. I got into broadcasting, and I did my master's in broadcast and digital journalism from the Newhouse School, which is one of the best degrees in the country. So I had the best experience I could have possibly had at Syracuse. And then for my last year, I wanted to be even closer to home. So I transferred to Fordham. And one of the players, Bree Kavanaugh, she's a longtime friend of mine. We both played AAU together in high school. So it was cool to be able to reconnect with her, possibly get to play with her. And then I've had some knee issues since then, so I haven't been able to get on the court this year, maybe next year, but for right now, I'm just doing a lot of broadcasting while I'm there and kind of maximizing my time.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And I understand you've been doing a lot of broadcasting, people like Jackson Hall. What was it like working at WUV, doing in the broadcasting side, doing play-by-play demos and all the play-by-play games that you've covered so far at Manhattan College and yeah.
Yeah, WWB is great. I mean, when I was at Syracuse, I did a lot of in-studio stuff and a lot of things on camera, so it was really cool to get here and to get both sides. I worked for ESPN Plus when they need me to do the games on TV, and then WFUV when I'm available to do the radio. And so there's definitely a huge difference between radio and television, and I've learned that as I've gone along. I think radio challenges me to be more descriptive and kind of analyze a little bit more and further because the viewers can't see what's happening. So it really challenges me in that way, which I think overall just will help me be a better broadcaster on television, which is ultimately my goal. But, I mean, working with so many different play-by-play guys that are all young, that are still perfecting their craft. So in that way, I think it's great that I'm there as that I want to be an analyst. So all my reps are being an analyst, doing exactly what I want to do for the next 20, 30 years in my career. So it's perfect. I mean, the amount of reps that I'm getting, games that I'm getting is unmatched, and the experience is just invaluable.
Yeah, I could only imagine, because when I came into Fordham doing play-by-play demos, some of the stuff you just said, describing everything on the court and analyzing everything, saying where the player is shooting at, with left wing, right wing, on the top, inside the arc, that was just a challenge for me. But you know what? I'm just surprised I even made a good impression when I was doing these play-by-play demos last year. I've done 9 demos when I went to Fordham University, and most of them were men's basketball. And I even came up with my own signature three-pointer called Splash. I gotta let you. There's a lot of improvement I need to do before I can talk about saying, hey, can't get a job doing play-by-play.
Mm.
Yeah, and I also saw that you got to be a host for the Gately Show in its first episode of the season. What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was nice. It was pretty familiar to me. Like I said, I did a lot of studio stuff at Syracuse. Um, but I hosted this segment on the court, which is with Coach Gately and then three players. And so she brought the three captains and Kenny, Caitlin, and Bree. And so it's pretty cool because I guess the goal of the segment, so to speak, is to highlight an aspect of basketball. So the first week we did we did defense, we did ball handling. So I do both sides: how to guard a ball handler, how to be a good ball handler, how to make a good pass out of the post, different things like that. How to use your dribble to create space, and so it's great for me because I kind of prep based on points that I need to hit, but I really let the conversation flow. And what I really try to do is let Coach Gately teach as much as she wants on a specific subject. So it's nice that the players are there. We can kind of make them dummies, so to speak, and they can walk through certain drills and things that she's teaching. And the last episode that we did, we worked on the pick and roll, which is always one of my favorite concepts in basketball because those that master it works so well. And so she did a great job of explaining it. So it's a great experience for me to be able to kind of facilitate her diagramming, whether it's different drills or things that she practices or concept that she teaches her team. And so it was great, very fun.
Yeah, and speaking from experience, it was very fun doing production. It was very fun having any involvement with the Gately Show. I got involved with it because I was an intern at Bronx Net, and I worked at the Gately Show last year when I was part of WV. It was a great experience. I'm glad I got to see guys like E-Man and Dominique do the hosting, interview the coach, interview the players, talk about the ins and outs of the game, including doing play-by-play for your Syracuse's against last year's A10 champion, the Fordham Rams. I mean, the Rams put up a good fight, but obviously, you know the results. You played for the team. What was that like playing against a school that you eventually ended up transferring to later in the year?
Different. Obviously, at the time playing them, I really didn't think about that. The only thing that I knew is that Bree was on the team, and so I had kind of told the team that she's a really good scorer. She's great at going to the basket, creating contact. She's got a really good pull-up mid-range game. So that was really it. And then I think later, just thinking about that, is just that they did put up a good fight. Coach Gately is a great coach and well respected, and so when I thought about that later, and thought about going and transferring to Fordham, it was nice to have seen somewhat their style and her coach up close and personal. So it's a different kind of view that I got normally than watching a coach, whether it's through TV or maybe in person, but against another team. So it was definitely interesting, and the girls mention it to me all the time that I beat them first and then I joined them, I guess. So it's kind of funny, but yeah.
Yeah. How did your coach prepare you and the rest of your teammates for that Fordham matchup and all the matches that you got to had in the NCAA tournament last year?
My Syracuse coach?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we do a lot of scout, a lot of preparation. As we get further into the season, we do less practice, more so mental. So we do a lot of walkthroughs, a lot of, like I said, scout tests, watching film, different things like that. So it was really just about understanding the personnel, knowing the players on Fordham that could hurt us, sticking to the game plan and playing them to our strengths, and then making sure that on the offensive end that we play our game, that we still keep it a high-tempo game, we force turnovers, we knock down shots from the outside. We really just do all the things that we need to do. Something big come tournament times that each team by then, has a certain identity. And so it's really hard to prep 100% for another team because you've never played them before. They're completely new. They're not familiar to you. Normally, they're not familiar to you, especially in the first round. So just understanding personnel, understanding what these players want to do on the court and different ways to stop them, and then just making sure that above all you play your game and do what has gotten you this far, which is NCAA tournament.
Okay, if you had a chance to play one-on-one with any of the WNBA players right now, which one would it be?
Hands down, Chrissy Tolliver. I'm a huge fan of Chrissy Tolliver. I just think she's one of the toughest guards I've ever seen. I've been a big fan of her since she was in college at Maryland. I can remember watching her games, watching her games all the time as soon as I saw Maryland pop up on the TV. But yeah, huge fan so they're coming off winning their first championship this year in WNBA. And she's got a great supporting cast of different players that are helping her. You know, she was fighting through a couple of injuries this year, but I just think she's one of the most craftiest players I ever met. And obviously a great IQ. And then she works with the Washington Wizards on the men's side as a coach. So I'm a huge fan. I had met her before as I was doing media for WNBA last summer, which was pretty cool. But it would be her that I would pick to play against.
Yeah, I could tell. I mean, like you said, the Mystics are coming off a championship win, which was like obviously one of the highlights of the 2010s. Like, it's just a lot to take in when you're playing college basketball and doing broadcasting for college basketball. Speaking of broadcasting, how did you find out about WNUV and what made you decide to be a part of it?
Coach Gately, honestly. Coach Gately was well aware that I wanted to be a broadcaster. That was kind of one of her selling points when I visited the school, was telling me about WFUV and the radio and the different opportunities in the city that Fordham is connected to through broadcasting, because I had a ton of opportunities when I was at Syracuse. So she just kind of suggested that, and then one day one of my assistant coaches walked me over to WFUV, and I had met Dom, who had worked for our games last year, kind of like Jackson does now, does a lot of our games. So he introduced me to Bobby, which is the sports director. And then it was pretty much that from there. You know, once basketball season came around, I did a demo with them. And they told me that I was pretty good. And then, you know, now I do pretty much any game that I can for radio when I'm not doing the ESPN Plus.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Because the more demos, because you had experience. Like, Bobby did always tell me that you would have a slim chance of, like, you have a better chance of getting if you have any experience in play-by-play coming into WUV. And it's play-by-play is a tough job to get into. I'm not gonna joke.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's a skill that you have to learn and kind of perfect, and it takes extremely a lot of reps. I mean, to call the game, every game is different, unpredictable. So there's nothing rehearsed, so to speak, about it. So yeah, I mean, you know, I remember play-by-play guys that I've had from Syracuse and then also from WFUV, and I'm always impressed at how they can remember players so quickly and the different terms that they use to describe things and how descriptive they can be and almost cunning. It's always impressive.
Okay. Which broadcast journalist in sports inspires you to be up to tempo when it comes to your career?
Oh, hands down, this is my mentor. Her name is LaChina Robinson. She works for ESPN, specifically right now the ACC network in women's basketball. I did a program with her last year called Rising Media Stars, and she became a mentor and took like 5 girls and became a group, and we did, you know, different live events at different Atlanta professional sports teams. And so just her, I mean, talking to her, I can text her anytime, know that she's going to get back to me. But just, you know, sending her takes that I've done and asking for some feedback, and just being there, you know, understand that, you know, I've got a master's in broadcasting, but that doesn't always answer all the questions that you have about on the air, you know, or ways to go about things or pay and stuff like that. So she being able to answer all of those questions, she's so honest and genuine. It really allows, I really believe that it gives me just a step ahead from those that are graduating in my position but don't have a mentor at that level, because she just fills in all the cracks, you know. And then above all is just extremely supportive. I remember the other day I was telling her that I was going through my knee injury and I'm rehabbing. I'm out this year, and this year was supposed to be a big year that I was going to play. And I said, but you know, I'm getting a lot of broadcasting done, so it's great, it's passing the time. And she goes, well, don't worry about being a broadcaster. Like, you will be a great broadcaster. You have all the things going for you. You know, focus on your rehab, which really made me very emotional, because that was like a mother saying that to me, you know. But she has just been great in helping my growth, really challenging me, but also supporting me. Yeah, she's been invaluable.
Yeah, there's a lot of valuable broadcasters out there that can inspire young talent like you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Now, what's your favorite WNBA team and NBA team right now, and why?
So the WNBA was definitely the Mystics. I mean, you know, they had came and practiced at Fordham during the year, but also, like I said, I'm a huge fan of Chrissy Tolliver, Elena Delle Donne, Natasha Cloud. And so the way that team was put together, I just really like their team and I like their style. And I think that they're well coached. In terms of the NBA, I'm a huge Kyrie fan. I don't necessarily have a team. I'm from South Jersey, so if I'm cheering for a team, it would be the Sixers, but not necessarily because of their style of play, more so because that's the home team. I would say I more so really watch players, and so like Kyrie Irving, Chris Paul. Love watching Russell Westbrook when he's not shooting a horrible percentage. And then obviously all the greats. So more of a fan of a player versus the team. But yeah.
As we approach the end of this decade, we're transitioning into the 2020s, and we see a lot of great moments that happened in the basketball world. Whether it's last year or the last 10 years, what is your favorite WNBA moment of the 2010s?
Wow, WNBA moment. Oh, I don't know. I'm really gonna have to think about that. I mean, I know that the Washington Mystics won their first championship this year, which is always very cool to see. Because their coach Mike Bull is the winningest coach in the WNBA. He just has never won a championship, which is interesting. You really don't see that a lot. So I think that. I mean, that comes to mind right away, but I think that would be very cool. I'm not. I mean, again, WNBA, I'm a huge fan of players too. So that's always tough. But yeah, I guess I would have to go with that. That's what comes to mind.
Yeah, and with great basketball knowledge and great sports knowledge, there's also good internships. Why don't you tell me a little bit about some of the internships you've done during your college time?
Yeah, so like I said, Rising Media started with LaTyna Robinson. That was an internship, so to speak, that I would say. I've also done a lot of shadowing. So I shadowed Jamel Hill 2 years ago when she hosted. She was a guest host for Highly Questionable and Around the Horn, to ESPN shows that come on during the day. She did that in Miami studio, so I had met her in Syracuse and just kind of asked if I could shadow her while she did that. Told me she was going to be in Miami, and I was near my birthday, so it was a nice trip. So I did that and really got to understand how people prep for these shows. What do you need to know? What notes do you receive beforehand? Maybe not necessarily that you prepped for, but the notes that you received, but then also the work that you have to do of watching the game, studying, what other people are talking about, etc. I shadowed Tamika Catchings, which is a color analyst for the Indiana Fever WNBA team. I met her because she called my NCAA game 2 years ago at Oklahoma State. So I got her information and then was able to shadow her. And that was a great experience. She's very sweet, very genuine and down to earth. And, sitting in a production meeting and understanding, what is the goal of the broadcast and then seeing that executed from the production room is just very different. It's much needed for a broadcaster who's really up and coming to understand all facets of the broadcast. So that was great. A lot of the internships that I've done, and then the last one that I've done recently was I was a digital media intern for the New England Revolution, which is an MLS soccer team in Boston. And so I did a little bit of everything there, but a lot of social media, Snapchat, different things like that. I really liked it because I was on the soccer side, so it wasn't something that I was super familiar with, but that I was versed in, that I know the game of soccer. I've played for many, many years. My brother's a professional athlete in soccer, so it was different to be able to kind of slide in that position for a quick 6 weeks, really get some things done while I'm there, help out with social media on game day and kind of help out with the broadcast crew and getting them more familiar with our fans and our viewers through Twitter. So I really like that because now, social media is a lot. We have broadcasters that work strictly off of social media. So I think all the internships I've done have been a little bit of everything, but I really like to shadow and see other people do what I want to do because I pick up different things. I pick up how they take notes, what they're looking for in the game, how they're giving feedback, what feedback they're receiving off their broadcast. And so then I understand, kind of the routine of what it should look like. But then, doing also a little bit of everything just makes me more versatile at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's a lot to take in because your journey's look a lot longer than 4 years. You've been in college for like 4 or 5 years now. Like, what you studying while you were in Fordham University, by the way?
Yeah, this is my 6th year. So I did my undergrad at Syracuse, and I got a master's, a one-year program in broadcast and digital journalism. And then here at Fordham, in another one-year master's program, which is media management, in the Gabelli School. So a business. So a little bit different, not a lot of in front of the camera, but more so the management side, which again is very important. And later in life, I decided that I want to do management. I now have the degree to kind of make sure that I did the education piece of it. So yeah, a lot of schooling, but broadcasting for me really started. I would say my senior year of Syracuse, so the year before my master's, and then the 1 year of my master's program. So I'm kind of on my third year of really getting into broadcasting and really understanding that this is my career. Like, I could broadcast a game every day for the rest of my life and be completely happy. I may ask for a vacation here or there, but I really enjoy doing it so much. So I'm glad that I've had the opportunity while in college to really get a lot of reps in and to practice and to be on a big stage. I mean, I've called some very good games in terms of teams and high-level games. So, getting that experience in college is invaluable, and it only made me better once I decide to really attack it and make my career.
Yeah, okay. Now, here's another tough question that I need to ask. Like, while you was playing for Syracuse, what was the toughest team that your team had to play during the NCAA tournament, regular season? It doesn't matter. Like, your toughest competition and your greatest moments.
I mean, in the ACC, it's the best conference in the country. So, day in and day out, we're playing Notre Dame, Louisville, Dukes. I would say Notre Dame, my second year. Notre Dame, my second year, I believe. They were the champions. I'm sorry, of the whole thing. So watching them and playing against them, I mean, you played against the absolute best. We also played against Mississippi State, another Final Four team. So that was pretty cool. So I would say those two were by far the best teams that we played.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you for mentioning Notre Dame, especially after Akira Ogumawale with those two ridiculous clutch shots in 2018 during the tournament. I know you have to remember how ridiculous those shots were. Like, when you saw those clutch shots, what was going through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, she's a scorer. Everyone compares her to Kobe and having the Mamba mentality. But, as a player, you dream about those moments. And so she seems like the type of player that, you dream about those moments, but you also practice them in practice so you're ready when the moment comes. And it just seemed like she was ready for the moments.
Yeah, and if you could pull off a moment like that the next time you step on the court, that would be something nice.
Definitely.
And what's nice? I'm about to step out this podcast because this week is holiday season, and you got to get ramped up for that. And I know you're going to have a good holiday season, and I want everybody that's watching this episode to enjoy this Christmas Day holiday season edition of Nothing But That Sports Talk with special guest Ice Young with a little ice in the veins on the broadcasting side and the b-ball side. For those of you that's listening, including you, get your head in the game. And that goes for you too, Ice Young.
I will. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah.